Welcome back to the Rosetta Star. Today we're going to look at why God mathematically signed the first message that we've been talking about. So, when we go back to just this initial study that again started back in 2023, in the previous video we were talking about these day counts and how these day counts then were transcribed, if you will, or what the Strong's definition of each of these day counts then led to giving us an idea and understanding of that time period, which again completely coincided with that specific phase in Revelation. So all of this, again, to me just became mathematically impossible that this could just be random chance. But what God does is that I found is that He layers so much. Obviously, He has total and complete infinite uh, wisdom, knowledge, understanding. He's created everything precisely this way. And as I talked about before, sometimes it just gives me an ice cream headache thinking about what's actually being done here and how many hurdles had to be overcome in order to just create this very, very simple message just to telegraph that you need to pay attention to this because this is going to help you unlock a lot of these data points in Revelation with respect to time. So again, when we go back, we look at what we're doing here. Another thing that starts happening is you start looking at these specific day counts. And as you kind of just start playing with the numbers a little bit, you start finding, as far as this expression is concerned, 656 days plus 229 days minus 527 days plus 309 days equals 49 days, or 7 times 7, or God's signature number 7. Or if you look at another combination of these numbers, again, you're getting this 49 or 7 times 7. Here's yet another combination of these numbers, where when you take this combination, again, you get 49 or 7 times 7. Now, those of you that are pretty quick on your feet with math, when you look at these two expressions, you'll see that 104 technically cancels itself out. And you would be right. So we could or uh, may not include 104. But I think God's answer in response to you would be this. Take a look at the total day count of this entire uh, Nishimura path between the heart-shaped cluster and, again, its ending point, the star named Uz, is 1,825. So all of these day counts in linear order, actually any order doesn't matter, but the summation of those day counts across the entire timeline is 1,825. Well, when you subtract 1,335 days, you get 490. Or this is, again, God's signature of 70 times 7. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. This is in Daniel 12:12, and again, it's no coincidence that it's in Daniel 12:12 because this entire model that I'm going to show you just happens to be 12 years long. 12 years just plus a couple of days at the end of it. But you will see when people are talking about 7 years or 3.5 years or whatever your your thesis is on this matter. As I said in a previous video, the book of Revelation spans from 2017 all the way through all eternity. But this specific model that I'm going to show you, and in essence, when people are talking about Revelation and what it means, it's actually 12 years. So this is why I said before, and why I'll continue to say all throughout these videos, this is not me coming up with this. This is God telegraphing this. This is just another layer of how he's trying to communicate to let all of us know that he's behind this. So all glory to God. And remember, in a previous video, the first video that I have on this channel, in Matthew 18, Peter's asking Jesus, how often, shall I forgive my brother? And Jesus said, not 7 times, but until 70 times 7. And again, the information that Brandon Peterson put together, you can see his work at kjvcode.com. Jesus is mentioned 490 times in odd books and 490 times in even books in the New Testament. So again, this is just bringing it all back to just how God works, how he operates. And again, he has clearly put that information and that mathematical signature, if you will, into even just this very, very small segment of the model that I'm going to show you. In other words, to me, the message is authenticated with some of this math. If you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd just like to ask you to share it in any way that you feel comfortable. We're running out of time, and any help that you could give me to get this out to people would be really appreciated. May God bless you. Okay, let's take a look real quick and just finish this up with just another data point. In the model, we talked about this Feast of Tabernacles. 333 days. So this again is just another layering that God does with this. Again, small segment of the message, but take a look at just a couple of these data points. And this is what I believe God has confirmed through 333 days, I think is sufficient enough, but I'll show you another layer beyond this. But one thing that I found interesting before I get to that is just real quick, looking at another site, not Stellarium, but this site I was able to actually study the Nishimura comet in a lot more depth. And on this site I was able to take a look at this path, and you can look at it in a 3D model, if you will. You can kind of pan around and kind of orbit around, if you will, what's happening. And one thing that I noticed was that, as you can see, the yellow line there is Earth's orbital plane around the sun. So it's a straight line because obviously I'm looking at it just right along its plane. But the Nishimura comet, on 11 days after it was identified, so it was identified on August 11th, 2023, 11 days later, it passed through Earth's orbital plane. Then what happened was 33 days later, it passed through Earth's orbital plane yet again. So this is just a data point to take note. Again, this God's number 3, or we have 333 days or 33 days, is to me just God's telegraphing this divine design. But take a look at this. When you kind of rotate this view around, and instead of us looking across Earth's orbital plane or the planet's orbital planes, but we kind of look down and we see what happens here on September 30th, 2023. What's happening here is that the Nishimura comet is about to pass through Mercury's orbital plane. So here's a screenshot of it on September 30th, 2023. And the very next day, or which this 24-hour period, if you will, is the very first day of the Feast of Tabernacles in 2023. And you can see now it is on the other side of Mercury's orbit. The ancient Greeks knew Mercury by 2 different names because they actually thought it was 2 different stars, right? They didn't realize until much later what they were looking at was the exact same celestial body. So when Mercury was an evening star, they called it twinkling. When Mercury was a morning star, They called it Hermes for its fleeting motion. And those of you who are familiar with the Bible, I'd ask you this question. Does that sound familiar? 1 Corinthians 15:51 through 52. Behold, again, telegraphing this 333-day count, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, such as a fleeting moment, in the twinkling of an eye, just as crossing the orbit of Mercury indicated at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. So this again is just another data point of layering that God is telegraphing to us. We need to pay attention to what's happening with this comet. And in the next video, we're not going to delay anymore. I'm going to bring you right into the full model. You can already go to rosettastar.com and you can download a PDF of it. It's a full-size sheet. If you want to bring it to something like Office Depot or Staples and have it printed out at 2 feet by 3 feet, you can do that. It's a great way to take a look at this and just see the whole thing. I encourage you to do that, to take a look and better understand this. In the next video, we'll get started analyzing and studying that model. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. God bless you.